Hope all are doing well. So let us start our topic. The basic process of a life are. Can anyone tell what are the basic processes of life?
Respiration, growth, transportation.
Yeah. Yes, very good. So respiration, excretion, reproduction, transportation, all these are the life processes, right? So today, let us discuss about one life processes, that is the mechanism of taking air in and giving out in our body. So this takes place in a system. So what do you call that system as? What do you call the system as? Shiv Prasad?
Yes, teacher.
What do you call this process as? The mechanism of taking air in and giving out?
Respiration, teacher.
Yes, so today let us know about respiration. Okay. Human respiratory system is a series of organs responsible for taking in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. So here, human respiratory system is made up of first one nostril and nasal cavity, second one pharynx, that is throat, also called as larynx, also called as voice box, trachea, nothing but windpipe, and lungs, it is also called as nose. So in this chapter, let us know about all these different parts. So here you can see the first part, the nasal cavity, followed by pharynx, next followed by trachea and the lungs. Nostrils. So firstly, nostrils, the two openings where the air enters into our body is the nostrils. Air is taken into the body through the nostril, and nostrils are parent openings that open into the nasal cavity. These two nasal cavities are separated by nasal septum. So this region where the two openings are separated, we call it as nasal septum. The air passing through the nostril is filtered by air and mucus. So mucus is nothing but the jelly-like substances which are present in the nose and help not to allow the bacteria and the dust into the respiratory system. And remember children, the sense of smell is takes place, this work is done by olfactory epithelium. This olfactory epithelium lies in nasal cavity that gives smell of sense of smell. Next, coming to the pharynx. So after the nasal cavity, you have this part pharynx, which is also called as throat. It provides passage for both food and air. So air passes through the throat into the lungs via larynx. Next is larynx, also called as voice box. So in this picture, you can see where the larynx is located. So larynx is present in both males and females with a little difference in size until the age of puberty. So when a male and female attain the puberty, so here you can see it grows larger and becomes prominent in men. Hence, it is called Adam's apple. The protrusion of the larynx you can see in this picture. The pharynx open into larynx by a slit-like aperture. So here you can see a slit-like aperture called as glottis. Nothing but in the glottis you can see vocal cord. So vocal cord help in producing the sound. So epiglottis is covered by epiglottis is a flap of cartilage that covers the glottis while swallowing the food. So while swallowing the food, it is very important. It does not enter into the windpipe. That is the reason epiglottis is present on the glottis to cover it. Next comes the trachea. Trachea is nothing but we call it as windpipe. So Larynx leads into long tube-like structure, nothing but we call it as trachea, and it bears rings of cartilage that support the walls of cartilage and ensure that passage does not collapse during the process of respiration. This is very important. Coming to the next, that is the lungs. So here, trachea is followed by the bronchus. Bronchus is again branched into bronchioles, which is present in the lungs. Now let us know more about lungs. Lungs are soft, spongy, pinkish in color. The right lung is broader and it is divided into three lobes. The upper part, that is superior lobe, and the middle lobe, and the lower one we call it as inferior lobe. The left lung, this is differentiated into two, that is superior lobe and inferior lobe. These lungs are enclosed in a rib cage for the protection. As it is soft and spongy, important it should be protected properly. Within the lungs, passage divides into smaller and smaller lobes. This finally terminates into a balloon-like structure, we call it as alveolar. So, alveolar provides the largest surface area for the gaseous exchange. So, whatever air is taken into the body, here exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli. Now, alveoli. The walls of alveoli contain an extensive network of blood vessels. So here you can see the blood vessels which are colored as blue and red. After inspiration, air is sucked into the lungs and fills the expanded alveoli. So here you can see when the air enters from the nostril to the body, from the body it goes to the blood, that is oxygen, and this oxygen enter into the alveoli. From the alveoli you can see the oxygen takes place, get transported into the blood, and the oxygen from the different parts of the body comes from the alveoli to the blood, and from the blood it comes out of the body. So this is the process that takes place in the human brain. So during this process, you can see lungs always has a residual volume of air. So this happens during breathing cycle. So why this happens is there should be enough time for the oxygen to be absorbed by the body and for the carbon dioxide to be released. So that is the reason lungs always contain a residual volume of air. So let us know more about respiration. So let me show you a video based on this.
Respiration in humans. Respiration is the process of taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. It is through this process that all living organisms take in oxygen that is necessary for the oxidation of glucose. Let's look at the path air travels as it moves through the respiratory system of animals. To follow this path, we will use the human respiratory system as our example. The respiratory organs of humans are the lungs. These sac-like organs are pink in color and found in thoracic cavity. As we inhale air, it will reach the lungs where the oxygen will be exchanged for carbon dioxide, which we will then exhale. In order for the air to reach the lungs, it has a long way to travel. The nose is the entry point for air moving into respiratory system. Your nose opens into a cavity above the upper jaw and then into a space called the pharynx.
Okay children, what is this pharynx also called as? Nandini? Nandini? What is this also called as? Yes, anyone children? I hope your network is proper. What is this pharynx is also called as? I'm audible to you children?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, what is this pharynx also called as?
So windpipe, teacher.
Yes. Okay.
The pharynx is the common pathway for both food and air. The pharynx continues into a tube known as the trachea. Connecting the pharynx to the trachea is the larynx, commonly known as the voice box. The trachea extends downward and divides into right and left bronchi that are also in the thoracic cavity. Each bronchus will lead into a lung, and as it enters, it will divide further into bronchioles and alveolar ducts, which end as alveoli. Alveoli are tiny grape-like sacs, inside which the exchange of the oxygen and carbon dioxide gases takes place. Now let's take a look at what's actually taking place when you breathe. As you breathe,
Yes, children, what is this part called as? What is this?
Diaphragm, teacher.
Very good. Diaphragm. So in the process of respiration, this plays a major role there. Right. Very good.
thin the diaphragm, a muscle lying across the bottom of the chest cavity, will begin contracting. As a result, the rib cage will lift and expand. This will increase the space inside the thoracic cavity and lungs. Oxygen-rich air will be pulled into the lungs through the nose by the process of inspiration. Oxygen will move out of the alveoli and into the tissues, while carbon dioxide will move into the alveoli. As the diaphragm relaxes, the lungs will return to the normal size. Air with carbon dioxide will be pumped out of the lungs in the process known as expiration. As inspiration and expiration continue, the carbon dioxide will leave our bodies and the oxygen we need will be brought in and sent to the tissues. Summary. All
Okay, so that is about respiration taking place in our body. Okay, so when the air enter into our body, means today through the nostril. I told some hair present, with the hair mucus is present. Mucus, mucus is nothing but a secretion, protective secretion of the mucous membrane in the gut. It lubricates the passage of food and protects the epithelial cells. That is in the nose and throat, lung. It makes it difficult for bacteria to penetrate the body through the epithelium. I hope this is clear for you children. Fine. I would like to show you a three-dimensional, 3D video that will be helpful for you at least.
Respiratory system. To understand the process of breathing, in humans, the main organs responsible for respiration are present in the thoracic cavity. In the thorax region, the rib cage and a dome-shaped fibrous tissue known as the diaphragm are observed. Present within the rib cage are the pleural membranes, which enclose the lungs. The right lung is divided into 3 lobes: the right superior, right middle, and the right inferior lobe. The left lung is smaller and has only 2 lobes. the left superior and the left inferior lobe. Both the lungs are associated externally with small tubular bronchi, which unite and extend into the trachea. The trachea has incomplete C-shaped rings of cartilage, which prevent the tracheal wall from collapsing. The trachea leads into the pharynx, which is connected to the nostrils. As we breathe in air, the oxygen molecules enter the nostrils and travel downwards through the pharynx and trachea to finally reach the bronchi. From each bronchus, oxygen travels into the lungs. Within the lungs, the bronchus divides repeatedly to form bronchioles. Oxygen travels through these bronchioles and reaches the alveoli, each of which is surrounded by a network of capillaries. A section of one alveolus shows the presence of numerous alveolar chambers with pores. Blood containing RBCs is seen flowing through the capillaries. The oxygen molecules from the alveolus diffuse into the capillary and then get absorbed by the bluish-purple RBCs. This causes oxygenation of the RBCs, and a transition in their color from bluish-purple to red is observed. The blood moving into the alveolus contains RBCs and carbon dioxide molecules. These molecules are released into the alveolus. The carbon dioxide collects in the alveolar chamber. And then from the alveolus, it travels through the bronchioles into the bronchus, which finally reaches the trachea and is breathed out through the nostrils. So the process of breathing in air rich in oxygen is called inhalation. After the contraction of muscular diaphragm, the lungs expand and the air rushes in, resulting in the inflation of alveoli. During exhalation, the diaphragm moves up and the lungs contract. Thus, the alveoli deflate, causing the air to be forced out. This exhaled air is rich in carbon dioxide. This process of inhalation and exhalation is known as respiration, which is approximately 20 times per minute. Summary. In the thorax region, the rib cage and the diaphragm are observed, which play a vital role in respiration. Present within the rib cage are the pleural membranes, which enclose the lungs. The right lung consists of 3 lobes.
Okay, children, tell me how many lobes are there in the left lung? Sohan?
3 teacher.
Left, not right.
2 teacher.
Okay, good.
While the left lung has only 2 lobes. Both the lungs are associated externally with bronchi, which unite and extend into the trachea. As we breathe, the oxygen molecules enter the nostrils and travel downwards through the pharynx and trachea to finally reach the bronchi. From each bronchus, oxygen travels into the lungs. Within the lungs, the bronchus divides repeatedly to form bronchioles. Oxygen travels through these bronchioles and reaches the alveoli, each of which is surrounded by a network of capillaries. As blood flows through the capillaries, the oxygen molecules from the alveolus diffuse into the capillary. This causes oxygenation of the RBCs. The carbon dioxide molecules are released into the alveolus.
Okay, so the concept here? Okay, fine, children. So let us evaluate ourselves. So let us have an activity. Pharynx, the membrane-lined cavity behind the nose and mouth, connecting them to the esophagus, is nothing but the pharynx. Trachea, the membranous tube with cartilaginous rings that conveys inhaled air from the larynx to the bronchi. And what is that bronchi? Two main branches of the trachea that extend into the lungs and further divide into bronchioles. Alveoli, thin walled sac in lungs where exchange of gases takes place. Diaphragm, so it is a muscular partition separating the abdomen and the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity, a cavity enclosed by ribs between the neck and the diaphragm. So what is inspiration? Breathing in air. In the process of respiration is called as inspiration, and expiration, the act of expelling air from the lungs in the process of respiration, is nothing but the expiration. Okay, fine. What is the first part?
Nose teacher.
Teacher nose.
Okay, nose.
Excellent.
Next, what is this region called?
Trachea teacher.
Trachea.
Excellent.
Very good. And what is this region called?
Bronchi.
Very good.
Excellent.
And the last?
Lungs.
Excellent.
You are right. Okay, so finally we'll have quiz. First question. Glottis opens on the floor of dash.
Option A teacher.
What is that? Yes, what is that? Answer please.
Pharyngeal.
Okay. Second one.
Option A, teacher.
Okay. Next. Second question. Dash prevents the collapse of the trachea.
Option A, teacher.
Cartilaginous rings teacher.
Cartilaginous ring. Very good. Okay. Third question. Opening to the trachea is covered by a small flap of tissue. What is that?
The epiglottis.
Very good. Epiglottis. Fourth question. The trachea divides into two smaller lobes called. The trachea divides into two smaller lobes called.
Option A.
Bronchi.
Yes, bronchi. Good. Next question. The exchange of gases takes place in. The exchange of
Option
gases takes place in pharynx, yeah, alveoli. Fifth question, children.
Option B.
Option B, it is alveoli. Very good. Okay, so I hope you understood the concept. So we'll meet in the next class. And your homework is so you have to label the parts and get it done. Okay.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so that's all for the day. Have a nice day.